Hey guys, so this is going to be a little different of a video I normally do. It shouldn't actually be a very long video. I want to do my summary review of the two rifles that came out in the Remington pack, but not the shotguns. But I'll kind of go over that. So there isn't going to be any hunting or really much use of the firearms in this video. Like, I'm really hoping I don't ramble on too long, but I figure I should sort of give my opinion on what I've found out so far. So I have done more hunting with them, and there's another video coming out as I try to sort them out, probably the day after this one comes out. But yeah, anyways, we'll get kind of right into it. I'm going to be focusing just on the rifle, so it is going to be a bit of a ramble here. But I do want to focus on... How come this one's got the scope on it, and I don't have a scope attached? That's neat. This isn't it supposed to like animate with it off? Okay. Well, there's a little bit of a bug. Okay, so we have the alpha in slot 1. And we have the SPS for 375. I think I call it the 357 sometimes. Anyways, it's the 375. If I call it the 357, sorry. And slot 2 here. Now, I think what I'll start with is the 375 here. And so this one sits kind of in a neat spot. So if I turn the little hunter sense on, I wonder if I can point 100 meters away here with iron sights. Probably not. Anyways, you can see in the top right that we're about 5,000 joules. So the 375 sits, if you exclude the 338 Lapua, if you exclude that, because I treat it like a tier 7 rifle, the 338. If you kind of exclude that, the 375 is the most powerful tier 6 at close range at 100 meters. It gets hit in about 5,000 joules. So that's meaning if you exclude 338, ignore that one. Like, it's got the 300 beat, it's got the 9.3 beat. It definitely has a 350 beat. It's got the 7 mil beat as well. So we've got a powerhouse of a rifle here in the pack. And it even carries out far. Now it drops off, not as bad as the 9.3. So it's better than that. It's better because it doesn't drop off as much, but it also isn't affected by the wind as much, as far as I can tell. So, I mean, it retains power longer than 9.3. It has less wind drift. Some of this isn't super scientific, so take it with a grain of salt. But that's what I've seen so far. The 9.3 might have more overall cavity damage because it has that big explosive sort of cavity damage unique cone to it, which sets it apart. But the 375 sits kind of like a mini 338. If you see the cavity damage of it, which I do some hunting, it'll be in a video later. It sort of looks like the cavity damage of a 338, just sort of like a smaller form of it, where the cavity damage is kind of spread out and continues along with it. So it's a very powerful rifle. And that's, I mean, it is kind of like a smaller version of the 338, but it doesn't carry the energy like the 338. This has more drop off to it. But it's an interesting one. So I wanted to do that, a basic little summary of this rifle, what I think so far about it. And that's kind of what it is. It's sort of a blend between the 9.3 and the 338. Sort of like it's a blunt projectile. And it has more energy than 9.3, but not as much as 338. It drops off sort of like in between. So interesting. It's an interesting rifle. I think this one's quite cool. So that one's good. That one's good. The next one I want to talk about is the Alpha. So the 7 mil. Now this one's kind of special too. So it's not as powerful as the 300. or the 375 or the 9.3. I think it ties the 350 if I remember correctly. Like hopefully Nikibu will maybe update his energy charts or whatnot, but that's, I mean, I'm not doing like the science here, just kind of the summary of it. I think it, if I recall correctly, it matches the 350 at 100 meters or so, so up close. But the 350's power drops off quite rapidly, while this one does not. The 7 mil it retains its energy probably the best out of the tier 6s. But you're talking with energy level equal to the 350, so it's a good 300 joules less than I think the 300 is at about 100 meters or so. But it retains its energy fairly well. So, you know, you're looking, as far as tier 6 goes, you're looking on the weaker side of the tier 6s for the 7 mil. The other part to it, though, is I rate it as a more difficult tier 6 rifle, kind of difficulty level of the 350. And how I rate, like, the difficulty of a rifle is sort of its reliability of taking down an animal. And how forgiving it is. And the reason why I rate this one as sort of difficult, so the 350 is difficult just because of the energy drop off for it, and it's not very accurate at all. But the 7 mil is fairly accurate. It's actually the same accuracy as the 375, as far as I can tell there. Which is, they both seem to be slightly more accurate than the 700 long, the 300 that we have, but, you know, still less accurate than the Steyr rifles. But the reason I rate this one more difficult is it has the cavity damage profile, of the 6.5 Creedmoor. So if you were to check out the cavity damage of this guy, and then compare it to like the Creedmoor, it looks kind of like that, and that's why I rate it as difficult, because the Creedmoor, its cavity damage expands immediately. And what makes it difficult as a tier 5 rifle is, of course, the cavity damage expands and is used up before it actually gets to the organs a lot of the time, but it has excellent penetration, so it's mainly a penetration damage weapon. While the 7 mil is very similar to the cavity damage of the 6, like the 6.5. So I say this one is like the 7 mil is to the tier 6 rifles as the 6.5 Creedmoor is to tier 5 rifles. So like the 6.5 Creedmoor is a lesser powerful tier 5, and it's got that unique cavity profile that expands all the cavity damage before it hits an organ, for the most part. Like on another tier 5 animal, and especially a tier 6 animal, like you're hitting it broadside, the cavity damage is usually expended before it gets to the lung. So the 7mm is similar, but of course it's more powerful than the 6.5, so it's basically a tier 6 version of the Creedmoor, but less accurate as well. The Creedmoor is actually more accurate. So that is my less than 10-minute summary of the two rifles here, just to get sort of the bases out, just so you can kind of see where they sit in comparison to the other rifles in the game. I think I pretty much had it all covered. The other two, the shotguns, I'm not really worrying about at the moment. The birdshot 12 gauge, how many birdshot shotguns do we need in the game right now? I know they're probably setting it up for when the ammo change comes, but I mean, okay, whatever. If you really like that shotgun, good. But right now I can't be too bothered with it. And the slug shotgun, I'm holding off at the moment. It's got me puzzled with a few things. I'm not too sure it's where it should be. Like gameplay wise, 3D model wise, not the actual firearm itself, but the slugs itself are all kind of funny looking, and they're like, I call them kryptonite slugs because they're a bright green. Anyways, it's confused me. So I'm not really reviewing those two at the moment because of that. So right now, it's kind of like a rifle DLC. I'm not too sure where the slug fits into the gameplay right now, and I foresee an update or a patch or something happening with it. I don't know. But I'm gonna hold off a little bit on judgment on the slug until I get some more info on it. Let me know what you think. Think of the slug though, or think of the rifles. If I'm on the mark or off the mark, let me know. But I want to do a little video out here. The next day, I'm gonna go out for a hunt with the 2 rifles. And yeah, see, I mean, I think in the video I keep calling it the 357, but yeah, 375. I keep flipping the numbers around. But anyways, so yeah, I just wanted to get that out in case, you know, you're on the fence about buying the pack, or just wanted some info to see where they sit. That's kind of where they are. The 375 is a very powerful tier 6 that sits between the 9.3 and the 338, some like a little hybrid between the two. It's an odd thing to think about, but that's kind of where it sits. It's, I mean, very powerful. Not where the 338 is, but more powerful than the other ones. And yeah, the 7mm Alpha here is it acts like a 6.5 Creedmoor, but in a tier 6 range. So there you go, a little bit of breakdown for you, less than 12 minutes. Let me know what you think, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Tomorrow we should be going hunting with these 2 rifles. Take care.